Good morning, everybody. It says we're live. That's fun. Good morning. Here we go. How's everybody doing this morning? You ready to talk about what's going on in classes? I have my coffee, but it's too hot to drink. We'll have to wait. Let me get my notes. I am prepared. It is the week 4 of October, which means it's the last week of October classes for all of those multimedia classes and for those drawing classes. We've got the first note I need to make sure everybody knows is some of my preschool classes are done for the month. If you're in a Tuesday or a Thursday preschool class, you guys have met your 3 times and you're good to go. We'll see you in November. If you are a Monday or a Friday preschool class, you had days off this month because the schools had days off. And so you're still wrapping up this week. So Monday and Friday, you guys still have classes this week. Tuesdays and Thursdays, you guys do not. Again, that's just for the preschoolers. Creative Explorations also does not have class this week because you wrapped up your October curriculum last week. You've got a week off, and then we hit November starting next Wednesday and Friday. Okay. All right, and then just a heads up, I've got another thing to mention in the intro, and we'll go over it again in housekeeping, but just to mention, if you are a Monday or a Tuesday artist in all the classes, drawing, multimedia, everything, okay? Everything. Monday, Tuesday, people, no class next week. And the reason is because it's a 5th Monday and a 5th Tuesday. And even our even our multimedia drawing classes only meet 4 times a month. So whenever there's a 5th, we're going to have a day off. Sound good? That's going to happen again in January. And we take it as that first week. We just extend our Christmas break. So there's a 5th Monday and a 5th Tuesday coming up, and we don't have class. That's next week. The 30th and the 31st, studios will be closed. Don't come in. We'll remind you again next week in the video. Let's click through. Preschool classes. So the ones that are happening, my Monday and my Friday people, you guys are doing stuff that we talked about in last week's video. You're doing week 4. So we are doing Elmer for our book, and we are finishing those clay bowls. Got a couple of really adorable pictures up here of the kiddos painting with their acrylic paint last week in the classes to finish up those bowls. We'll finish our clay bowls, we'll read Elmer, we'll play in our PlayStations and wrap up our October curriculum working with lines. Our November curriculum deals with pattern and the art of Henry Matisse. It is the one time of the year where we get out the paint pendulum. So get excited for that. My multimedia students, starting with K-3s. Okay, so last week, these kiddos, you can see in the photo, these kiddos poured wax in their clay projects. So I brought a couple examples here of some of their bowls, and these ones, the wicks haven't been trimmed, but they'll get trimmed off, and you can see you got some amazing texture on the outside of this little pot, and then the wax in here is colored. They got to choose the color that they wanted. They also got to choose their scent. We had some like fun autumn scents that they could use. So we use a microwavable soy wax, which works out really, really well for our studio. So we melt it. This one's like a light peachy orange. Really, really pretty. Kind of a creamsicle color. You can see all the textures. So this week in the classes, we'll go ahead and trim these wicks before the kids get a handle on these. But this week in the classes, the kids will be painting the bowls. So we'll use acrylic paint and they'll paint cover the entire thing and get it all pretty and ready to go however they want it. Heads up, they might still be wet when they come home. So when class ends, depending on how fast of a painter they are, acrylic dries really quick, but depending on how fast and how many coats and all that, they might still have some wet paint on here. So just something to be aware of. We do have like paper plates that send it home on, so you're not just holding wet paint in the car. But as I mentioned in a previous video, last year we painted in week 3 and we poured wax in week 4. And instead of sending people home with wet paint, we sent them home with hot wax. So figured wet paint was better. That's what's happening in our multimedia class. In our homeschool class, in our 4th and 5th grade class, we are finishing our clay. So they painted last week because they don't have to pour wax. They painted last week. Our goal in that class was to get the entire thing covered. So this is a great example of that. And And it's harder than it seems. So if you look really, really closely, I mean, there's like deep, deep crevices and areas that have to be covered with paint. And that was what we tried to get done last week. That was a lot of work. So this week they can just focus on kind of that surface texture or embellishments. We'll also get out some like glitter, shiny things. Here's another one. This one's a lot darker color, so it's easier to see the contrast between the light clay, like maybe what you missed painting, and the dark color. So you can see they did a really nice job of getting it covered. But with the dark color, you lose the texture, right? It just kind of looks like one-dimensional. As soon as they go in with a light color on the top, that'll really pop. All right, so those kids will finish those. I'm setting these off to the side. All right, I want to talk about our middle school, high schoolers. So our 6th, 7th, and our 8th through 12th, they are making those pencil holders, right? So there's I want to be really careful. These guys are big. Oh, and green. We'll turn it this side. It's not so green. As you can see, we've got these kind of towers where you can set in your drawing utensils or your, right? How fun is that? They can organize their desk, keep their paintbrushes in it. And they've started painting as well. They just have to finish painting this week. A lot of them followed directions and painted a good solid color everywhere. And then this week this is green at the bottom, which is why you can't see it. But they'll work on getting dry brush techniques. I love this one, kind of a woodland tree theme. So those are looking really good in the closet. I'll have to do an Instagram story and walk you through the tables of clay projects that are sitting out in the closet. I think this is probably our best year in terms of product that has come out. It's really exciting to see what the kids have made. The other thing that our middle school, high schoolers had to do is paint the inside. And that, you guys, that's a lot of work. This is a lot of surface area to get painted. So if your middle schooler or high schooler comes home and they don't have a clay project because they didn't finish it, especially this one, I see no reason why K through 3rd won't get finished. I see very little reason why 4th and 5th and homeschool wouldn't get finished unless they missed a class. But this class, this middle school, high school class, depending on how intricate their clay design is, how intricate their paint design is, there's possibly some kiddos who are going to need more time, even though they came to every class this week or this month. So if your kid comes home and they're like, I'm not done, so I left it there, totally fine. Just know that when we get to like the 1st of November classes, we won't be working on these. So we'll be working on our ink projects for November, which we'll talk about in next week's video. So they'll want to book some additional studio time either on a Wednesday if you're a Liberty kiddo or a Friday if you're a Flatwoods kiddo. And you can do that on the For Current Students website. Just go under makeups. Even though you didn't miss the class, it's still under makeups. Make sure I didn't get anything on my notes. Nope, I'm good. Okay, creative exploration, kiddos, just to reiterate, you do not have class this week. Okay. There's no class. This is a 3-time-a-month class, so there's always going to be an off week. If for some reason there happened to be 5 days, then it would end up being 2 off weeks, but not this month. This month is just the one. So this whole week, my Liberty and my Flatwoods creative exploration kids do not have class. The November curriculum is out and we are prepping for it. We're going to be looking at the art of Vincent van Gogh. And then our focus for the media is ink, just like the multimedia classes, and we'll work with a lot of different patterns. Drawing 101 classes. Okay, I got to switch my pile of stuff. There we go. I get all the drawing journals out. Last week in Drawing 101, we did observational drawings. That's when you look at something and you draw what you see. And our subject was pumpkins, because we just have those. So they looked at pumpkins and they drew them in chalk pastels. And then we turned them into jack-o'-lanterns. So we used a collaging technique and some construction paper to turn them into jack-o'-lanterns, which is super fun. The chalk pastels give us a chance to practice our values, because it really helps with lights and darks and blending and that kind of stuff. It also helps with hue, which is what we call color. I'm going to find one more example here of a jack-o'-lantern. Okay. So again, the first step was an observational drawing of a pumpkin, and then from imagination, we made faces and turned them into jack-o'-lanterns. This week in Drawing 101, we are going to look at leaves. And so I went on a walk this morning and I picked up a whole bunch of leaves. We're going to do more observational drawing. Instead of using chalk pastels, we're going to use colored pencils, which gives us a chance to do a little bit more detail. It's kind of hard when you're doing detailed line with chalk pastel. That's a lot of fine motor. So we're going to use some colored pencils for that. Our arrival activity is going to be drawing with the sense of touch. So we've got brown paper lunch bags, and we're going to put hidden objects in each one. So without looking, they'll put their non-dominant hand in the bag. They'll feel around, and as they are manipulating it with their fingers, they will draw what they see with their fingers on their paper. It's just another way of observing your subject. It also, we're really hoping that it helps them translate, how do I draw a bumpy texture? How do I draw a rough texture? How do I draw a smooth texture? Like, what are the marks that I make with my drawing utensil that communicate to my viewer the texture that I am feeling? So I think it'll be a fun puzzle and a good warm-up for us. Advanced Realistic 102. I've got a couple examples up here in the pictures of last week's artwork. I didn't pull journals. I just didn't. Because I had such great pictures. So I was like, oh, this will work. But they drew haunted houses, and they did it using 1-point and 2-point perspective. So for those of you who took drawing in high school, probably, maybe middle school, depending on your program, you may be familiar, especially with 1-point perspective, which puts an object, like a box, with its front facade perpendicular to its viewer. That means we're looking at that object straight on. And then we can see a little bit to the side. So you'll notice that the box that is straight on, or the front of the house, that all of the angles, use my pointer here, all of the corners on this front box, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? All of those are 90-degree angles. But when we get to the side of the box, these are not 90-degree angles, and the top and bottom lines are at this funky angle. And what they do is they go to the vanishing point. So we learned a little bit about a horizon and a vanishing point and all that stuff. A 2-point perspective simply takes this box, and instead of being straight on to you, it turns it. So this is where none of the sides are straight on to the viewer. So if we are turned, or it is turned relative to us, that's 2-point perspective, and it gives us 2 vanishing points. We learned a little bit about that. And then they practiced those skills by drawing haunted houses. So the lesson was really in perspective, but by applying it into architecture or houses, it's more fun. So the cool thing is when you look at a house, everything on the house also follows the same rules. So the siding, the window trim, the gutters, the eaves, all that stuff. Anything that lays on the house and runs parallel to the bottom and top is going to also follow the vanishing point. So it gives us lots of chances to practice. This week in Drawing 102 Advanced Realistic and Drawing 102 Comic, we'll talk about both of them. This is their wild card week. So remember, they have 3 lessons a month, and then the 4th week is always a wild card. That was based on feedback that we got a couple years ago when some of our older artists really wanted time to finish a drawing that they liked, or they wanted time to get help or revisit something they struggled with. And so this gives them a chance to do that. This entire class, there's nothing really planned for a lesson, but we've got 6 lessons under our belt. And so they can go back, they can redraw. If they loved their haunted house picture, maybe they want to ink it and then they want to color it. Maybe they want to use markers on it. Maybe they want some colored pencils to flesh it out some more. So they can actually tackle that. Or if they have a separate project that they're working on and they need some help solving a problem, then that's what the instructor is there for. Comic and cartooning classes did clothing, and these are some really great pictures of class last week. And they worked on like how clothing lays on the body, how it drapes on the body, and where the where the creases are, right? Where is it smooth because it's hanging from the top? And then where does it drape? They looked at common articles of clothing, not just t-shirts, but all sorts, pants and different things. And then they practiced drawing those. They also, because remember, we've been working on the figure in motion, they also talked about how it moves with the character, right? Because it doesn't exist separate from the character. So it's gotta, if I sit down, what changes? If I'm reaching for something, what changes? That kind of stuff. So lots of great stuff happening here. I've got a couple examples of some different clothing that we drew, like pleats and things. We also, in some of the classes, got into, like this one here is actually inked, not only like the drawing lines, but which lines are heavier, which ones have like a heavier line weight to them, hence having like a shadow to them. Whereas maybe your pleated lines when you're drawing in ink, right? If it's just, let's see, where's a good example? As soon as I move, of course, my shirt changes, but see some of the wrinkles that aren't quite so noticeable. They're just a slight bend in them. When you were inking that in comic, you would use a really skinny marker for that. If it was a really heavy bend in the fabric, then you would maybe use a fatter marker. So we talked about that, using line weight. Drawing 103. So I've got a couple projects here. Also, okay, I was like, why do I still have books? That's fine. Okay. I'm going to double check my notes because I feel like, okay, yeah. So really quick, drawing 102 comic, just in case people only watch the section. They are also in a wild card week. So it is, remember, 3 lessons and then a wild card week so that they can go back and revisit drawing. So if they really loved that drawing they were working on for clothing and they want to finish that drawing with ink and color, they can do it. If they want to learn and tackle more articles of clothing, they can do that. If they want to go back to that character in motion lesson and pick a different mannequin picture and draw that, they can do it. If they love that mannequin picture and they want to finish that mannequin picture, they can do that. And if they want to work on their comic book, they can do that. So it's a wild card week. It's not a party in class. It's meant to be work time. Project updates. Here we go. For my 103, advanced realistic, we're working on a fantasy creature. So their challenge was to pick something imaginary, but draw it as realistically as possible. And so I wanted to update you on some of their projects that they have going on. And these are colored pencils. The other part of this lesson was learning how to use colored pencils. And look at all those amazing hues that are showing up in the, lots of great color. This one here, they've done a wonderful job of burnishing. So all that texture is really saturated and very rich in the subject in the front. The background isn't quite there yet, but it's coming along. So we're pretty proud of what they've got going on. Again, one of those things that you might have some kiddos that need some more time. Just book that time on the makeup site. Okay, come in on Wednesday or Friday. Or with these kids, if they want to come in, not honestly, like, I mean, on a case-by-case basis, of course, depending on what's going on in the classes. Usually these older kiddos, we're fine if they want to come in while another class is going on and work. They can work in my office. They can work in the classroom. They can sit in the drawing classroom, wherever in the studio that they want to spend a little bit of class time. We just need to coordinate that. So just send me a message. If the makeup times don't work, send me a message. Okay. Here are some of my comic ones, and these are amazing, you guys. They're looking so good. Remember, their job was a villain, right? They were supposed to draw a villain in like exhibiting its powers. So it needed to be in movement, in motion. We have some amazing things happening. So they will try to get everything inked and then colored. And I don't know whose this is, but it was in the closet, and it's pretty awesome. The rest of these are like in a journal, but that one's not in a journal. Good stuff going on. All right. So these ones, when they finish, then they'll go in like we've got like a mat to finish them, right? A pre-cut mat so that a little bit more substantial. We got like a backer board too, so we can really protect it. Check my notes. I think that's it. Here we go. A little bit of housekeeping. As a reminder, no preschool classes Tuesday or Thursday this week. So tomorrow and Thursday, if you were in a preschool class, don't come to the studio. We won't be here. And then same for creative explorations. This is the last week of October. So everybody in those multimedia classes should come home with some artwork. If they don't, sign up for a makeup so that we can get those projects finished. Play projects especially are tough for us to store in the closets. And I'm not tough. I mean, like we can put it in the closet, but it is more likely to get crushed than a drawing. So yeah, if it gets down to like mid-November and we still have your clay project, we might send it home with you so you can keep it safe. And then let us know when you want to come in and finish it. You can bring it back. Okay. Last week of October classes, no class Monday or Tuesday next week. And then just a quick reminder, our holiday gift workshops are live on the website. I know that the ornament workshop filled up really fast. And so I'm looking at my calendar to see if I can add another one. So just a heads up on that. Also, the other thing that might get added to the calendar, if you saw the Facebook post last week or the Instagram stories, I want to do some sort of business workshop for our teenagers. Actually, I don't want to do a workshop. I want to do like a 12-week course, but I feel like I should start smaller and not overwhelm people. So I think we're looking at like a one-day workshop, and it'll probably be in like real soon before the end of the year. So stay tuned for that. It'll be on a Sunday because that's the only day we have a calendar available. And we're talking like a 5 or 6 hour workshop. All righty. I think that's it for me, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week this week. I hope that everybody, I won't see, no, I will, because I'll have a video happening Monday. So even though we don't have classes next Monday, I'll still have a video because I'll want to talk to you about the November classes that are coming up. I was going to say happy Halloween, but I'll wait and do that next week. So have a wonderful week, you guys, and I will see you soon.